And continue to our topic, food from the sea. As you can see on the slide, seaweeds are this kind of creatures as diverse as jellyfish, even the sea cucumbers or the bat in our own dialect, and even polychaete worms are part of the diet in many culture. Even in the local delicacies, it's just a and not an expensive food, but for those who are very far from the sea products, it may have a great cost to them. Food from the sea, like finfish, this constitute nearly even 90% of total world marine catch. But even only finfish like those fishes that has a fins like tilapia or even sturgeon, it contributes a 1% of the food that we are eaten. So other part of those percentage we can find it the seashells or the crustaceans, those mollusk products. They're not part of the finfish, but they're a great also number in the percentage of the food from the sea, and the dependence on seafood for protein is much higher in the most coastal nations, especially poor ones. Is of course, and local people, they're those people whose job can be found nearly in the sea, as they are living on the sea shores. So basically, they're first consuming food. They consume food from the products of the sea, like those fishes and other products that they can find easily on the local areas.
Offshore marine aquaculture. It is a specialized branch of aquaculture in which it includes the freshwater aquaculture. They are involved in cultivation of marine organisms for food and other more. Aquaculture also cultivate fish farming, shrimp farming, and oyster farming. An increasing demand of seafood are being met by the mechanism led by the marine aquaculture. In increasing use mechanism to meet the growth protein for the demand, while minimizing an adverse consequence on the environment and the other use in the ocean. As the marine aquaculture cultured in farming of marine organisms for food and other products such as pharmaceutical food, cultural kelp or cultured kelp. Kelp is a large brown algae seaweeds that make up an order of Laminalis. Cultured kelps or seaweeds farming began in Japan as early as 1670 in Tokyo Bay, while it is introduced in China at the late 1920 from Hokkaido, Japan. In Japan, for over a century, it is a natural habit, and culturing kelp also a natural habit for their commercial production. Japan and China are using kelp as their food sources or dried seaweed. In kelp cultivating, there are three important processes or important techniques in cultivating it. In the first technique is the floating raft method of cultivation, wherein this method the young sporophyte of kelp or the seaweeds are being attached to the rope. It's either horizontal or vertical lining, which it is being buckled to the raft. And the second technique is the temperature. Temperature in cultivating kelp must be low temperature. And summer seedling. The seedling of Laminaria are being cultivated during this period. In use of low temperature, 20 degrees Celsius below, the pace of the blade resume growth until the autumn and form a new sporangia. And lastly, the application of nitrogen fertilization in an open sea. Nitrogen conserves as an energy source or oxidant for marine bacteria in where if there is too much nutrients of nitrogen, the algae growth exponentially or growth so much and leads to algal bloom or the eutrophication.
Cultured kelp. Kelp is a good source of glutamic acid. What is glutamic acid? It is an amino acid. It is one of the 20 building blocks of protein. This kelp or kumbu contains extremely high levels of iodine. Iodine can be found on some foods. It contains very important in our body, but if we consume about over 1 milligram a day, it can really be harmful. Like low levels of iodine can lead to various complications. So this kelp is a source of dietary fiber. Kelp is a dietary fiber because it is a natural source of essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, which are important in the diet. Application of technology. In the description says, from the development of more effective gear, we can actually think of that they had used lots before they did the use of satellites to find fish. This increased the efficiency of the harvest resources. So through the development of technology, we can increase more and harvest more resources. Nations like China, Japan, South Korea, and the United States have developed high-tech fishing fleets that can remain on the fishing grounds away from the home port for long periods. As we can see in the figure, these have different parts which includes high-tech video cameras which capture high-resolution fishing imagery, hydraulic and rotation sensors. These trigger video cameras to record the catch. The upper part which has GPS antenna which provides location and time of fishing activities. And lastly, we can just live for a moment since this electronic monitoring computer records fishing vessels and video data.
Here, if we look onto this table, we could see that the most in-demand marine species is fishes like herrings and sardines. This is the most consistent throughout the year. But if we look below, the miscellaneous pelagic fishes has not been in demand until the year 1995. And the reason for this is simply because we lack the necessary technology before to be able to reach the depth that these fishes lives on, which is approximately 3.68 kilometers. And overall, in this data, there are over 91.3 million metric tons or equivalent to 90 billion kilos catches of marine fishes in the area.
It's estimated that 95% of the world's fisheries are in coastal waters, with China leading the most volume of fishes harvested annually. Since it is easy to harvest bottom-dwelling species, including pelagic catches, such as larger fishes, squids, and other species.
In this slide, we could see that the world is still dependent in marine catches. But we could also see the rise of the marine aquaculture in the production of commercial fish, which is a good thing because aquaculture is much more sustainable than catching fish in the marine waters. If we look on this graph, we could see that China dominate the marine catch starting from the year 1995 up to the end of this data, which is year 2010. And the reason for this is that the Chinese government have been expanding its fishing fleets, and according to the data gathered by the Yale School of Environment, there has been an estimated 800,000 fishing fleet, and this fishing fleet is too large that it can scoop as many fish in 1 week as a local boat might catch in a year. So in that comparison, we could clearly see the gap between a local boat and a massive fishing fleets from China.
Major food species include small fishes that forms large schools, which are herrings, anchovies, pilchards, menhadens, and shods, since they are easy to spot due to their vast schools. These species are one of the most abundant in the world. As for the herring, each female could spawn as many as 40,000 eggs on seaweeds and rocks and hatches in about 2 weeks. Hence, it is why it is one of the most abundant species in the world. Alumahan or long-jawed mackerel are commonly found in the Indian and West Pacific Ocean, and bisugo or threadfin bream are found in tropical waters, commonly found in Indian and West Pacific Ocean also, to which both fishes are commercially popular in the Philippines. Galunggong or mackerel scat and bangus, that is milkfish, are also popular here in the Philippines, and both are still fished commercially. A few decades ago, cod was listed as an endangered species in Newfoundland. The catches in 1971 had dropped from 277,000 metric tons to 59,000 metric tons in the year 2000. To save the species from being endangered, many areas of the North Sea were closed to cod fishing, and that was in 2001. Humans harvest different kinds of species for food all the time. The remaining species that were uncaptured reproduced to replace individuals that were lost to disease, predators, and including humans. Yet, experience has shown that even if the food resources are renewable, they still are not limitless. Here are some ways to prevent overfishing. First is to limit each catch. There must be certain limits for each species so they can have enough time to spawn and reproduce. Second, establish catch shares. Sharing catches are an advanced way of managing fishing problems. Third is to choose the right seafood so none would go to waste. Fourth, ban illegal practice. And this ban was established years ago, but many fisher folks still practice illegal ways since there are no authorities guiding them. And last is to establish more marine protected areas. Now that is all for our topic today, and thank you for listening.